If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm today to get started. Hello, self-developers, and welcome to the Patrick Kelly Podcast for Self-Development, where I will be reviewing audible books on self-development that can change your life for the better this year and years to come. It is said that if we keep on doing what we always did, we will keep on getting what we always got. In other words, to change our output, we first have to change our input. Today is February 20th, 2022, and this is episode 8 of season 2. And today we'll be reviewing the audible book Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. This audible book will teach you what grit is and how you can use it to change your life.
Chapter 1.
Showing up. Some people are great when things are going well, but they fall apart when things aren't. Why were the highly accomplished so dogged in their pursuits? For most, there was no realistic expectation of ever catching up to their ambitions. In their own eyes, they were never good enough. They were opposite of complacent, and yet, in a very real sense, they were satisfied being unsatisfied. Each was chasing something of unparalleled interest and importance, and it was the chase, as much as the capture, that was gratifying. Even some of the things that they were doing were boring or frustrating or even painful. They wouldn't dream of giving up. Their passion was enduring. In some, no matter the domain, the highly successful had a kind of ferocious determination that played out in two ways. First, these exemplars were usually resilient and hardworking. Second, they knew in a very, very deep way what it was they wanted. Not only did they have determination, they had direction. It was this combination of passion and perseverance that made high achievers special. In a word, they had grit.
Chapter 2.
Distracted by talent. The human individual lives usually far within his limits. He possesses powers of various sorts, which he habitually fails to use. He energizes below his maximum, and he behaves below his optimum. The natural bias is a hidden prejudice against those who've achieved what they have because they worked hard for it, and had a hidden preference for those whom we think arrived at their place in life because they're naturally talented. We may not admit to others this bias for naturals. We may not even admit it to ourselves, but the bias is evident in the choices we make. The focus on talent distracts us from something that is at least as important, and that is effort. As much as talent counts, effort counts twice.
Chapter 3.
Effort counts twice. If we overemphasize talent, we underemphasize everything else. When we can't easily see how experience and training got someone to a level of excellence that is so clearly beyond the norm, we default to labeling that person a natural. Great things are accomplished by those people whose thinking is active in one direction, who employ everything as material, who always zealously observe their own inner life and that of others, who perceive everywhere models and incentives, who never tire of combining together the means available to them. Talent and effort and skill and achievement all fit together. The formula: talent time effort equals skill, and skill time effort equal achievement. Talent is how quickly your skills improve when you invest effort. Achievement is what happens when you take your acquired skills and use them.
Chapter 4.
How gritty are you? Grit isn't just working incredibly hard. That's only part of it. Grit is about working on something you care about so much that you're willing to stay loyal to it. Grit has two components, passion and perseverance. Enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. The top-level goal is not a means to any other end. It is instead an end in itself. Grit is about holding the same top-level goal for a very long time. A lack of grit can come from having less coherent goal structures. High but not the highest intelligence combined with the greatest degree of persistence will achieve greater eminence than the highest degree of intelligence with somewhat less persistence.
Chapter 5.
Grit grows. There is no species on the planet more adaptable than ours. We change. We rise to the occasion. In other words, we change when we need to. Necessity is the mother of adoption. The qualities of passion and perseverance that bring about grit. Passion begins with intrinsically enjoying what you do. Next comes the capacity to practice. One form of perseverance is the daily discipline of trying to do things better than we did yesterday. So after you've discovered and developed interest in a particular area, you must devote yourself to the sort of focused, full-hearted challenge, exceeding skilled practice that leads to mastery. You must zero in on your weaknesses, and you must do so over and over again for hours, a day, week after month after year. To be gritty is to resist complacency. At various parts, in big ways and small, we get knocked down. If we stay down, grit loses. If we get up, grit prevails.
Chapter 6.
Interest. Whatever it is that you want to do, you'll find in life that if you're not passionate about what it is you're working on, you won't be able to stick with it. People perform better at work when what they do interests them. Interests are not discovered through introspection. Instead, interests are triggered by interactions with the outside world. The process of interest discovery can be messy, surreptitious, and inefficient. This is because you can't really predict with certainty what will capture your attention and what won't. You can't simply will yourself to like things either. As Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, has observed, one of the huge mistakes people make is that they try to force an interest on themselves. Without experimenting, you can't figure out which interests will stick and which won't.
Chapter 7.
Practice. Gritty people typically stick with their commitments longer than others. If you track the development of internationally renowned performers, you invariably find that their skill improves gradually over years. As they get better, the rate of improvement slows. This turns out to be true for all of us. The more you know about your field, the slighter will be your improvement from one day to the next. In order to become a master at anything, it will require about 10,000 hours of practice over 10 years before achieving elite levels of expertise. If you are not improving, then you are not engaging in deliberate practice. If you judge practice by how much it improves your skill, then deliberate practice has no rival. Flow and grit go hand in hand. Gritty people do more deliberate practice and experience more flow.
Chapter 8.
Purpose. Interest is one source of passion. Purpose, the intention to contribute to the well-being of others, is another. The mature passions of gritty people depend on both. In sharp contrast, you can see that grittier people are dramatically more motivated than others to seek a meaningful, other-centered life. Higher scores on purpose correlate with higher scores on the grit scale. For most people, purpose is a tremendously powerful source of motivation.
Chapter 9.
Hope. What is hope? One kind of hope is the expectation that tomorrow will be better than today. It's the kind of hope that has us yearning for sunnier weather or a smoother path ahead. It comes without the burden of responsibility. The onus is on the universe to make things better. There's an old Japanese saying, fall 7, rise 8. Grit depends on a different kind of hope. It rests on the expectation that our own efforts can improve our future. I have a feeling tomorrow will be better is different from I resolve to make tomorrow better. The hope that greedy people have has nothing to do with luck and everything to do with getting up again and again and again. Closing thoughts. On a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this audible book a 4.5 for teaching what grit is and how you can use grit to improve your life. To find out more about this audible book, go to www.audible.com and download this audible book, or go to www.angeladuckworth.com to find out more information about the author. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you do not miss an episode. And also remember to please share this episode via text or email with friends and family and other people that you care about. Follow me on Twitter at Kelly Podcast or Instagram at PatrickKelly_podcast. For more episodes of the Patrick Kelly Podcast for self-development, go to www.thepatrickkellypodcast.com. If you would like to donate $1 or more to support this podcast, click the donate button at www.thepatrickkellypodcast.com or go to $Patrick Kelly Podcast on Cash App, and I'll be sure to thank you on the next episode. This is the end of this podcast for today. Tune in next week Sunday for the next episode and the next audible book of over 300 books that I'll be reviewing on the Patrick Kelly Podcast for self-development. If you enjoyed this podcast, take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. This really helps me out. Feel free to share this podcast with someone you care about. And remember, your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. Take care.